Welcome back to the Drive Guide YouTube channel. My name is Max Landy, and here today we have the Toyota Camry TRD. The TRD treatment on Toyota's most popular sedan promises to be a real track-ready sports sedan. And that's what I kind of want to answer in this video today. Is the Camry TRD really something that any driving enthusiast would get excited about? Is it something that really can define itself as a sports sedan? So that's what we're going to do in this video, and I'll share plenty of my other thoughts towards the Camry TRD. And at the end of this video, as always, I'll place it in my ranking system to see how it compares against other cars in its class. So let's get behind the wheel, take this car for a proper drive here in the valley, and let me share everything that I think you need to know about this car. So what has Toyota done to change the Camry to make it a TRD? Well, the list of changes is really quite long, and there's a few interesting things that come along with the TRD packaging. First thing that you need to know is that this is an option packed added onto the XSE V6, one of the top trims of the Camry. But when you select the TRD option, it actually takes away a few things and reduces the price by $3,700. Now, taking away some of these things and changing around that base price will, I think, cause a couple issues for anybody that's looking into buying a Camry. But I'll start off with the list of the things that the Camry TRD brings to the table. First of all, it has a lot more visual excitement with a splitter up front, side skirts, a wing that Batman would approve of, and new 19-inch rims on low-profile Michelin rubber. The TRD version of the Camry is 44% stiffer up front and 67% stiffer in terms of roll, helping keeping the car very flat in tight high G corners. It's also lower to the ground, 0.6 inches, and has larger brake rotors up front with red brake calipers all the way around the car. The interior sees similar improvements with more red stitching and accent coloring throughout, red seat belts. You'll see a unique TRD shift lever. And finally, you have a new TRD exhaust system, which is different from the catalytic converter all the way back to the exhaust tips. The engine, the 3.5-liter V6 and the 8-speed transmission hasn't been changed at all for this car. There's no more power, no more torque, still 301 horsepower and 267 pound-feet of torque. But the things that the Camry TRD will take away from you include a wireless charger, the panoramic moonroof, the upgraded JBL sound system, and the heads-up display. None of these things are really deal breakers for myself. Maybe that's different for anybody that really wants a wireless phone charger in their brand new car, but I find it odd that Toyota wouldn't even allow the option of some of these smaller pieces to be added back onto the TRD. But I guess that's purity of vision. Now let's get into the real subject of this TRD. Is it a sports sedan? Is it something that you want to drive, and will it give you a thrill? Well, first of all, I have to say you have to drive this car in sport mode. The sport mode really is just going to help improve the throttle alertness, really help the gears shift down faster and hold the revs a little higher as well. That's how I drive this car. Sport mode, and I'll leave it in its automatic setting, as the big plastic paddles that are behind the steering wheel aren't the sharpest, not really out of the ordinary, I suppose, in this price point or really this category of car. But if I'm shifting cars manually, with paddles that is, I want them to be as snappy and as instant as they can. And when they're not, I'll just leave them in the automatic mode. And adding on to that, if you are in a manual mode and you're flooring it, you hit the red line, the car will shift itself. Now, it's been a long time since I've driven a regular Camry, nearly 2 years since I got into, I think it was the XLE V6. But I'm not going to draw comparisons to that car at all, because I just want to talk about how good this thing feels. The suspension really does connect you to the road. You feel like you have great information coming through the steering wheel, and it's weighted very nicely. In any of the driving modes, the steering is quick, and you can see I'm going along about 70 kilometers an hour now. And even though I'm rocking the steering back and forth and it's darting throughout its lane, I'm not really falling out of my seat at all. I feel very planted, very comfortable in this seat. Even though I'd like it to go a little lower for my height, I don't really have much of an issue, a couple more inches of headroom. Just to bring me a little lower into the chassis would make it feel a lot sportier, certainly. The engine, even though it delivers power very gracefully, it feels like there is more to be unlocked. There's a potential that this 3.5 litre V6 really could have 50 or 60 more horsepower to make the car feel a little more ravenous, a little more eager. The Camry TRD is still a front-wheel drive Camry, and I really haven't experienced any torque steer whilst driving this car, but if you ever really pin the throttle hard and you're turning excessively, you'll feel a little bit of slip from the front tires from understeer, not necessarily from losing grip. And because that is so well communicated to the driver, you very quickly know, okay, I need to relax the throttle a little bit so the tires can pick away at the pavement and help pull me out of this corner. I've received a lot of comments from people driving this car in the past week, and one of the most prevalent ones is everybody thinks I'm going much faster than I am, judging by the noise on the outside. When you're pinning it, you hear a little more of the engine whine, just perhaps a little intake noise more than you hear exhaust noise. But on a cold morning, firing this thing up, it does have some good bass to it. That does lead to a little bit of drone on the highway, but it doesn't really feel like it's adding more volume. You get a little bit of wind rushing over the wing mirrors and the tires, so it doesn't make the experience, I think, any louder than a regular Camry. It just has a little bit of a different noise to it. The other main comment I get from people was how good this thing looks. I was definitely in the camp thinking that when they redesigned the Camry, the S version that they had built looked a bit too busy, too much going on that was just added needlessly. But here, because all of the added TRD components really feel like they have integrated well into the design of the car, it has made the Camry look like a better looking car overall, and I think that's fantastic. In the interior, yes, all of the nice touches of the red throughout give a little more spiciness to the interior, but there's still quite a few scratchy plastics throughout. I still think the Camry is a couple degrees away from the best interiors of the class, like the Honda Accord, like the Mazda 6, but we have a beautiful 8-inch screen up front that now has Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and Amazon Alexa integration. That was something that didn't exist when I first tested out the Camry a couple years ago. And one thing that I would like to note is that on the Toyota website, it says that when you get the TRD, one of the other things that is removed is the dual zone climate control system, but it's a dual zone climate control system here. But saying all these things that I have about the driving experience of this TRD, at the end of the day, it's still a Camry. It's very comfortable to go on long highway cruises. The back seats still have more than enough space for most people. Me at 6'4", I can just sit behind myself and have a little bit of headroom, and the trunk is absolutely fantastically enormous. One of the other changes that came along from the regular car to the TRD is being able to fold the rear seats. Here it seems like there's no option to do that. Given that this Camry TRD is going to be a limited availability car, they only plan on bringing 6,000 of these a year into the US, and I'm not sure what the number is for Canada. I'm sure that anybody that goes out and buys one of these is going to enjoy them the same way anybody enjoys a low-powered sports car. Nothing that really gets you to 0 to 100 fast, but something that makes driving down an interesting bit of road fun. So that concludes all of my thoughts towards the 2020 Camry TRD. Yes, this thing truly is a sports sedan. It's satisfying to drive and you have a true sense of engagement from behind the wheel. But I wouldn't go so far to say that this Camry is a thrilling car to drive. Yes, it has all the connection and the feeling that you want, but a louder exhaust system, maybe some more power under the bonnet, really would give a greater sense of interest to the broader range of enthusiasts. The TRD really is set up for driving enjoyment and it has the flair to back it up. I think this is a car that you should seriously consider owning. And that wraps up all of my thoughts towards the Camry TRD. Thanks again for watching. If you wouldn't mind liking the video and sharing it to other people, that would really do a lot for me. And of course, hitting that subscribe button, sharing it with others, it all helps me out a lot. Thanks again. Hope to see you here again soon.